Good afternoon. I'm Chair Sue Oliva, and I'd like to welcome you to the October 2023 Historic Resources Commission meeting. The HRC is a quasi-judicial body that is governed by North Carolina general statutes, the City of Asheville's Unified Development Ordinance, and Buncombe County Ordinance. We are authorized to hear requests for certificates of appropriateness for alterations, demolitions, new construction, and other work within historic districts, or for the alteration and demolition of historic landmarks and other duties, including preliminary review of subdivisions as specified in the ordinance for the HRC. I will now ask commission members and staff to introduce themselves. I'm Sue Oliva, and I am an American historian.
Will Hornaday from Albemarle Park, a local historic district.
Emily Kite, local architect.
Alexander Allen Bogan, architect.
Chris German, architect.
Janice Ashley Lee.
Oh, are we done? Did you get through all the commissioners? No.
Claire Thomas, editor.
Janice Ashley, legal advisor to the HRC.
I'm Alex Cole. I'm the staff liaison to the HRC.
Jackson Mark, staff assistant.
We will now consider the minutes from the September meeting of the HRC. The minutes include finding of fact and conclusions of law. Are there any corrections? No. Can I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from September.
Second.
The minutes and the findings of fact and conclusions of law.
Including the finding facts of law.
We have a second?
Second.
Motion carries.
We got a vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We will now begin the evidentiary hearings for the items listed on the agenda. As a quasi-judicial proceeding, the HRC is not setting policy, nor are we soliciting public opinion on the desirability of an application. The HRC hears and considers evidence presented and applies the standards set forth in the guidelines and standards of the specific historical district for that application. The HRC must make its decision upon competent, material, and substantial evidence to determine the facts of the hearing. The HRC will use judgment and discretion to apply the standards contained in the relevant guidelines to the facts. The commissioners in voting for an item will not have a fixed opinion not susceptible to change, have a conflict of interest, have engaged in ex parte communication regarding the application. This meeting is open to the public, but participation is limited to interested parties who wish to provide comment and testimony regarding the proposal. If you want to speak, would you please stand up and raise your right hand?
If you're going to speak on an application, you should stand up and raise your hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the information you present during the hearing for a certificate of appropriateness or preliminary subdivision approval before the Historic Resources Commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. We'll now move to our first public hearing item. Alex?
Thank you, Chair Oliva and members of the commission. I'm going to be really brief with this first application. This is obviously old business from the last meeting where we were looking at a different retaining wall at 101 Santee Street. This project, the retaining wall was originally approved, just as a refresher, to be a low boulder wall on the back side of this property where this new primary structure was approved. It's on the southwest corner of the lot. The house is currently under construction, and hard to tell from these photos, but you can see the wall goes along the right-hand side of the house and then turns and goes back behind it. The wall ended up needing to be way taller based on the excavating at the lot. Sorry, I was getting some feedback. I don't know. Is that better? All right, so I have not included them in the presentation, but we talked through last time. This is some up-close pictures of the wall. It's verti-block wall, which the commission has not approved before in Montford. We have had at least one application in the past, and the commission required that the wall be stone. These are just some example images of treatment of the wall that we talked about last time, which would be planting on the top of the wall and or in front of the wall, potentially staining the verti-block as well as adding grout. And looking back over the minutes, I think one of the things we talked about was staining might not be the best idea for the wall if it were going to be this more brown appearance, as most of the walls in Montford are natural stone and they have more of a gray blue appearance. But we agreed that they would go out and test the grout. So there's some photos that have been added to the packet today. So I'm just gonna pull these up really quickly. So it's kind of hard to see unless you got out of your car and walked into the site. You couldn't really tell from the road. The wall doesn't look that different. The grout is pretty much the same color as the block, so it really doesn't have any contrast. And that because the joints are so deep, even with the amount of grout they added, I don't think it really changed the appearance of the wall that much. These were photos that the applicant sent me, and I went out there today and I took some more photos, but they didn't really illustrate what I'm describing any better than what these photos do. So I don't know. I'm still struggling with this. You know, the fact that the house obscures the wall a good bit definitely helps it. I think, I'm not sure that there's any other options at this point for treatment of the wall surface to make it better in its appearance. To go back to the photos of the wall in situ with the house, I could see where doing some pretty substantial landscaping along the side of the wall, like closest to the front of the house, would help to just screen the wall entirely from the street view. You know, they're not going to be able to, I don't think, go in and, you know, take apart the wall and rebuild it at this point. So I feel a little bit stuck with this one. And I think as much as we can reduce the visibility of it from the street might be the best approach. But I think if you approve this material, I think we got to make it very specific in the reasons what happened here. Janice, is there anything that you want to weigh in on since we're talking about this wall? I was just saying that there unfortunately doesn't seem like the effort to add grout to the wall didn't really result in a very substantial difference in appearance of the wall. And so I'm not sure what the options are except for to add a lot of landscaping in front of it to shield it. But it's not a material that's, you know, obviously consistent with the standards, although they can approve, I think it says you all can approve on a case-by-case basis, non-traditional materials.
Well, I don't have anything to add because there's not really a legal question. I think before, this is an after the fact, and the suggestion was to try to come back to the commission with maybe an alternate or that would somehow make it consistent with the character of the historic district. So you're back to looking at something as if to see if it fits as proposed with the screening or, yeah.
So that's really all I have to share with you all. My staff report hasn't changed from last time around because I don't think the wall itself really looks that much different.
Any questions for Alex?
And I usually try to come up with solutions, but I'm not sure I have a better one than adding a bunch of landscaping at this
Is the
point.
wall done? Is there a cap?
It kind of looks, would be a good question for the applicant. It kind of looks like on the front end of it, it's not quite finished, but I don't know if it's just because, you know, there's dirt and a bunch of stuff happening around it, whether that's, you know, what the end product is going to look like on the front end. I don't know that a cap is planned for the entire wall. I kind of thought it was finished.
Alex, is the objection that it's a precast wall rather than natural stone?
Yeah, the commission has had determined when, I think the last application we had for Verde Block it was a long time ago, like probably 8 years ago, and the commission didn't find that it was an appropriate material for the district based on its visual qualities of being faux stone essentially, and it looks very modular.
Are you aware of any exceptions based on the height of the wall?
No, because I think, and we talked about this last time too, we know that taller walls can be built of CMU and faced with a different material. The last large retaining wall we looked at was, if you've ever been on Gudger Street, behind where we actually have another application on this agenda, behind the Randolph School, there's a really long retaining wall that goes from Cortland down that street that's probably, I don't know, it's probably 75 feet long. And it's like 15 to 20 feet high in places. It was built in like the 50s and was a stone wall, but it was failing and leaning out over the street. And so they got approval to replace that wall with CMU wall with a stone veneer. So we know that structurally it can be built in a way that utilizes stone instead of the Verde block. And I mean, but we haven't, to be fair to this application, have not had one that was behind the house almost like this one. I do think, again, that doesn't mean that you all can't, you're different commissioners than were here 8 years ago. If the commission makes the determination that you think the appearance of the wall is okay, that's, your prerogative for sure. I think we are going to see more walls because the limited number of lots left in Montford are mostly lots that are tricky like this one. So
Any questions for Alex?
Where is the driveway? Is it where the dumpster is in that photograph?
I don't think that, I'd have to go back to the original, let's see. The driveway is actually on the other side, I think, no, there was a walkway. I don't think there was a driveway that was approved as part of this. Yeah, there's just the little walkway that's on like the northeast corner up by the street. And that little L that extends off of it is for the trash receptacles. But there wasn't a driveway approved for this site. So theoretically, the area that's, where that dumpster is parked should be lawn at some point. Any other questions for me? Okay, thank you. Carol, just got my slides open, and then I've got your whole folder is open too, if you need to reference any of the photos you sent me.
Jakub Markov is architect. Just to address the cap, the question about the cap. As of now, the wall doesn't have a cap, and we're considering. One of the proposals was to put planting on top, and I think if I go back to photo, these are the photos. Okay, there was another picture that we sent earlier, Alex, that showed the photoshopped vegetation on top of the wall.
Yeah, if you go to the tab that has the presentation, the little yellow tab.
Oh yeah, there. This one. Yeah, the one, the photo at the very bottom. That's an example of an existing wall, and this picture right here on the left is a mock-up of what our wall would look like if we add vegetation to it. So it does, as of now, doesn't have a cap, we can consider either, if that's better solution, to go with the vegetation that overflows at the top, or we can also come up with a stone cap if that's a preferable solution. And other than that, I agree with Alex that we're going to provide planting along the bottom of the wall and on the front of the house to hide the wall as much as possible from the street. And there's also another possibility, and as Alex just mentioned, there's no driveway approved of it for the site, but during the construction and the grading, it looks like there may be an opportunity to add the driveway to it if that's preferable. Originally, we didn't think that we could do that because there was a steep bank at the front of the property, but looks now that we could potentially include a short driveway on the right side of the house. Let's see if I can point to it on the site plan. It would be right there where the trees are shown. There's a potential opportunity to provide a driveway if that was it was helpful for the issue here. Yeah, and other than that, I don't really have anything else to add. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Questions for the applicant?
So your plan is vegetation?
Yes, that would be the best way to diminish the appearance.
Do you have a specific, in the front yard plan of what you want to plant?
In the front yard, not really yet.
Landscape plan looks like this.
So it wouldn't change from what's approved?
It shouldn't, but I mean, it doesn't mean that it couldn't.
Well, mainly we're thinking about the top to provide the junipers or something that flows over the
Gotcha.
top, but there's going to be landscaping along the bottom as well. At least, at this point, it's probably it appears taller than it's going to be because there's still fine graining that needs to be done. So I think the finished grade will raise a few inches, probably maybe half foot, maybe to a foot even, and there's going to be grass growing, and probably we can provide some low shrubs. So I would say that probably the bottom foot of the wall will also be hidden by vegetation. So I mean where the boards are in this picture.
Plants that are in the drawing, is that those plants?
These are junipers that we photoshopped onto the image.
But is that considered from the drawing, that's what those?
That's
Same
that's
plant?
part of the revised site plan that we submitted with this application to provide junipers along the top of the wall.
It seems like, Carol, that this site plan is gonna have to change from the landscaping perspective because the tree that's shown right at the end of the wall is shown on the approved plan as an oak tree. I don't think that's gonna work there.
Yeah, so it's hard to tell at the beginning, at this point, because of the fine graining hasn't been done yet, but it is a tight spot over there, so if there are any revisions to the site plan we need to provide, we'll definitely do that.
I mean, I think, at least what I was saying to the commissioners is it would make more sense to me to add landscaping in front of the wall
I
that
agree.
were more like smaller shrubs, like rhodo or something like that would get full
That would hide it.
and hide the wall. Versus a tree, which is great, we love trees, especially oak trees, but I don't think it's gonna be happy there.
Yeah. Yeah, so looking at this picture again, like where the boards, the boards are along the wall, the bottom of the wall, I think that's probably more or less how much how much wall we'll be able to hide with final grading and vegetation.
Is that like
The top of that stack of boards that's there now. I think that will be like the finish. That's to be the finished grade plastic grass and small shrubs growing on it.
So is there a way you could, from the street view, hide the wall so you couldn't see it from the street?
I think that with well-placed larger bush and more of a evergreen or more of a kind of a ball shape
Something that would block
bush
that.
that would completely disappear. If you go back to, let's say, this photo right there, right behind the where the dumpster is right now, there was a bush in that area. Doesn't have to be a very big bush, but I think that would go a long way to hide it entirely.
And I would say that a driveway doesn't help us in this
No,
situation.
no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
that
I'm just saying that
I
just
don't
because
think
there
it
was a
helps us.
question
Yeah.
about the driveway, and if there was a way to incorporate the wall as a part of the driveway, that's
Yeah.
that's something we could consider.
Yeah,
But
the more space there is to plant things right there, the
Mhm.
better.
Yeah, and I think at least in the photograph, the plantings on top of the wall are pretty successful too, because you don't really read that sort of hard line.
Yeah.
So I think both planting on top of and in front of is going to be an okay strategy. But I'm a little concerned about how we connect it back to the standards.
Yeah.
Because I don't think this is a rabbit hole we want to really go down in future applications either. So
I
that's
think that's what I was,
yeah.
maybe correctly asking Janice. That's where I would struggle in thinking about this application before the meeting today is, is it only being approved because it was already built and they can't
Right.
take it out because there's a house in front of it?
Right, which is crummy precedent, right? Because then
Yeah.
it is the sort of loophole opportunity that we try very hard not to create because the standards exist for a reason. So that's the part where I think we do have to be very specific if we think we can even link ourselves back to the standards with the requirement. If we don't think so, I don't know what the next option is after that. So
I
I
guess
think,
just in my mind, thinking about it, maybe this helps, maybe it doesn't. But if you think about, let's say they proposed this from the get-go, and we had a landscape plan that showed all of what we're describing, the shrubs on the top, which the revised site plan does show that, but then shrubs around the base of it. And knowing that it's gonna be backfilled a bit more on the front end of it, would the commission have been like, okay, well, this wall is like interior to this lot, it's not really gonna be highly visible because of all these XYZ factors. Is that a reason to support the alternative material? Where you might do so again, if it were gonna be like mostly obscured behind a structure and then
Right.
satisfy all these other features.
I feel much better visualizing if the fine grading is really going to come up that, like in that photograph that's at the bottom, right? That's a good 6 or 8, 12 inches of fine grading that needs to happen to get the grass to grow,
yeah.
which, the front part of that wall is pretty low after that. And certainly not a prominent site feature at that point when it's screened and when we've backfilled against it and when we've softened the top of it. Then it becomes a much less of a site feature that's visually impactful for sure.
I agree, Emily, with what you're saying. I think the thing I just don't want to see it from the street. I think There's
Yeah.
gotta be an opaque grouping of plants that, so people can't see it.
And I'm confident we can, do a lot to nearly hide it completely from the street, yes.
So maybe we can see a landscape plan with exactly what you were gonna put in there, so we could feel better about approving.
Yeah, that's certainly something we can do.
Is that something that you guys would be okay with staff looking at as a condition? I look at
I
a lot
would
of
be.
different landscape plans, so.
Yeah, I would be comfortable with that as a condition
Yeah.
to submit a landscape plan revised.
I would say they need to decide about the driveway and come back and let us know for sure what
That
they're
has to
gonna
be-
propose on that.
Well, I think that's a whole separate
Yeah.
Yeah.
thing, though.
Let's not get into
And I don't think a driveway in this location would be appropriate.
No.
I don't think, yeah,
I
But
think
that's-
you're gonna
yeah.
struggle to meet the driveway requirements anyways
Yeah.
with the shape of that. That sort of
Grading.
tapers back and it's
No,
can't
no,
be in
yeah,
the front and all
Right,
those.
right.
I think we'd struggle to get that to work anyway.
And that walls may be concrete helps some of the uneasiness with the standards,
Right.
and the siding is typical.
How much does the fact that this is new construction in the historic district give us leeway? Matt, just a
I don't think
question.
that really matters. Because it's not like you all would say, VertiBlock is an appropriate foundation finish, you know what I mean? Like.
Well, but I'm thinking about if this were a historic property with a historic house on it.
I
And the
think it-
standards for new buildings are different than historic
I think that-
contributing structures.
But I think that the whole section on neighborhood setting applies to the whole
Yeah.
neighborhood.
It does.
Right.
And would there be anything about the height of the wall that would allow for more, doable solutions than just, I know that you can go pretty high with CMU and rock veneer, but that usually calls for really large footing, especially if we're talking about 6 to 8 feet, which we had to do on the back of the house. That usually comes with a lot more excavation and just no,
What
that's
is
an
the
aspect.
name of the product? Is it a Keystone block?
And it's VertiBlock, VertiBlock,
Very?
VerTE, I think.
There's an
TI, I
exhibit
think.
D with the specs.
Yeah, there's a,
Yeah.
if you keep going through the pictures, it's in here, it's in our
Okay,
packet.
so it's hard to hear with this.
No, I
I know,
understand.
it's so loud.
It's in the packet, there's a,
Yeah.
how do the rest of you feel? I mean, I think if we could see a plan and not see it from the street, I think I would feel much better.
So is that what we're seeing, the juniper on top in the photoshopped? Is that it?
Yeah,
on
the bottom
Is
images.
that enough? Yes, is that enough to help you, and then, or are you looking
I
to see
think
the
there
forward
needs to be
plan?
some new things planted so you cannot see that wall.
Just in front of the wall.
Yeah, the front.
But I
But-
I mean, I
The
feel
front of
like
the wall or in the front of the house, so when you drive by, you can't see it.
there's a landscape plan for the house and the
Right.
foundation plantings, but then I think it can't, there's probably enough space there to, I don't know, what, 4 or so shrubs
Yeah.
at the very front end of the wall. I think we've got a planting list. So I think if you all were okay with that as a solution, then we just need to make a condition on the approval that we review the site plan at staff level. If you're good with that.
I mean, I don't like the idea that we're trying to find a solution for something that we're not happy with. That seems to be kind of against the purpose of this, as well as, like, I think it sets a pretty bad precedent. And Emily, I think you were alluding to that earlier. So if the wall is there and what the wall is, and not that we're trying to cover it up, because that means that we're trying to cover up something that's not fitting, and it could be because it's after the fact, and then that's a slippery slope, I think. So in my mind, I think that the wall is like right on the line. It's stone, that's an approved product for the wall according to the design standards, and it's concrete, so it's also approved. Unfortunately, it's concrete as stone, which is a little bit funny. I think one of the things, I think that I was one of the commissioners last month who wanted to see the grouting of the joints, and I think that helps a lot between the two pictures. But when you look at the other stone walls in the neighborhood, that grout is brought almost to the surface of the stone, and you still have the shadows here, so it's still not having the sense of what the rest of the neighborhood is doing in that application, and I still think that would help. So I'm personally not against the product itself, but I'm kind of not totally on board with its current appearance with the grout. I think it's heading in the right direction, but I don't know. I'm kind of struggling with that. Is where I'm at.
So you think if they like worked on adding some more grout, that you would want to see that?
Yeah, and it's the grout that I have observed in the neighborhood. It's also a contrasting color. It's a lot lighter than the stone, so I think that might help and make it feel like it's more part of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And the grout here is much darker, so it's making that stone pop a little bit more, which is making it seem lighter, whereas the stone that is currently in the neighborhood is darker. So those are yeah. So those are my suggestions. It's not really against the product itself. It's kind of just trying to get the appearance to be right.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Those
probably, depending on how much depth we have left, adding more grout could be more or less successful. Sometimes it just start falling out, but I think it will be fairly easy probably to color the grout in some way. There's probably something that we could use to lighten it.
Is it dark because it's not fully cured yet, or is it, that's the color it is?
I think it's just a cement color, just a plain grout with no coloring in it, and it's color, and that's what the wall essentially is, more or less.
I mean, I think
So
we're never gonna lose the modular of it, is the thing. I think the grout, I think helps some. It sort of softens the edges of it in a way that looks more weathered a little bit, but we're not ever gonna lose the modular stacking of it. We're gonna always kind of see that, and I think, there's in fences and walls in the standards. We talk a lot about fences, and we talk about this much about walls. And we say we can use these materials, and if we need to do something different, it's on a case-by-case basis, right? And it does, in the earlier part of it, give us a little bit of context. I think obviously it's clear that there needs to be a wall in this location because of the grades and the topography. And that historically they're stone. We're giving permission in the standards to use stone, concrete, or brick. I think the line is, we've blurred that with this product to some extent, but that we're allowed to decide on a case-by-case basis without very much framework as to why we're allowed to decide that, right? It doesn't follow up and say, if it's in the backyard, you can use something different, or it doesn't say if it's new construction, you can use something different. It just says on a case-by-case basis. And so I think that because very little of it is visible from the road, there's a clear site-driven need for a wall in the first place, and that we have opportunity to fully screen it so that we soften the impact that it has on the landscape is maybe the best that we're going to be able to do without taking the wall out.
I mean, would it help some of the commissioners who are struggling still if they keep working regardless, but I want the commission to be good. You know, my suggestion that I look at the site plan as a condition, I feel like that's pretty straightforward, but if the commission wants to, you know, look at it and be okay, you know, okay with the site plan, that's totally fine too. It's up to you all what you make a condition or whether you're good with approving it today or not, obviously, so.
We keep using the word modular, but I think to the untrained eye, this is indistinguishable from Fieldstone. If you're just walking by, it has irregular coursing, has the asymmetrical shapes. I think it would be hard pressed for a non-professional to say that this was a cast stone versus a natural stone wall. That might be a mitigating factor.
I don't know that I'm a trained professional in walls, but I feel like it looks pretty modular to me. That's just my opinion. I think it maybe is a cultured stone-ish type material. I think that it always looks kind of, I can tell, I don't know, I just feel like it's easy to tell the difference, but I feel like this section of wall that's coming up towards, closest to the street or to the front facade of the house is low enough, you know, it's not like as if we're looking at an 8-foot wall right there. And I think that helps with, you know, being able to grade up as high on the wall as possible and add shrubs in front of it. And hopefully by the time the shrubs are, you know, mature, you won't really experience the wall if you're passing by. And so it does become much more interior to the site versus something that would be like along a front property boundary. Thankfully, that's not the case here.
So we have a grout, more grout possibility, or plants? Or both?
I feel comfortable with both, I think.
How do you guys feel about that? More grout and plants? Yeah? Yeah.
And grout, you said to meet the surface? Yeah, okay.
Okay, so do you want to come back next month? You want to request a continuance?
If I would obviously prefer if it was done as a condition, but I will come back, of course, if the commission
Or
feels
what?
more
Well,
comfortable with
but
that.
go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, like, is the commission, do you feel like the grout is gonna be a deal breaker? Like, what if it doesn't look that much different or help the wall? Is that, do you know what I mean? Or are you good with just saying there should be more grout and approving it with the condition that the site plan be submitted?
How do you guys feel about that?
I feel the plantings will help, and I don't think the grouting's gonna change anything on that. I think covering it with the grout the juniper will be the most successful, and that's what I approve with that condition on the
Juniper.
planting, and then the front planting of something to obscure the right side of the property.
So are we saying plantings in front of the wall or in the front of the house?
Both on top of the wall, as shown,
And then
and then
something in
along
the
the bottom,
front?
and then along the base of the wall, and then in the foreground. If the oak tree no longer is going to work with the vertiblock that's there now, which wasn't on the original plan.
Did y'all do the grout along the whole length of the wall already, or just a section of it as a study?
I think I think they went ahead and did all of
They
the
did
wall.
all of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that more grout is gonna sway me one way or the other, because I think if the plantings are done right, it's not gonna matter that much, the grout. And as long as the whole wall matches the sort of sample that we've looked at,
I would be afraid that it would start falling out if it's just too little of the grout.
especially if
added.
it's all done and you have to put another
Yeah.
layer on top of it, that's not
Yeah,
gonna
co-
work.
coloring.
For walls to hold
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
really cover it.
Yeah,
Coloring the grout in some way could potentially
yeah.
work. If we wanted to bring out some more contrast, to darken the grout or lighten it in some way, I'm sure there's things to do.
I think over time it'll weather itself okay, and the landscaping will make the difference. So I'm not sure there's a need to come back for a whole nother round of more grout, and that you could all just amend the application to include the changes. And if there's still more grout to be done because some of the sections of the wall haven't been finished, I think obviously that needs to be part of the thing.
Okay, how are we with that? Okay, Alex? Are you okay with that? It's okay.
You don't
You have to
you
be,
can,
you have to be,
you
true to
can
yourself.
decide to be.
I mean, we always try to get everybody on the same page, but you don't have to be. I mean, that's.
you just, yeah, okay.
Are you leaning towards still having them try to do the improvement, but having that as part of a condition? Or are you saying that you would like to see how the wall is improved with your suggestion and have it come back to the commission?
I think that we're trying to cover up something that's not approved. We're not trying to make what is there per the design standards and per the neighborhood. So that's the, I don't know.
Well, I think what I was hearing, and actually I heard several of you, I thought I heard several of you say, and Ms. Kite said this, that this material is, yes, it's a new material, so it's not in our design standards as permitted, but it is sort of stone-like or concrete-like. So in anything, if it gets approved, even if you would like a condition to try to further make it look more like whatever, stone, you'd have to make a statement about whether you decide that this is similar enough to those permitted materials. That would have to be part of your findings. So I don't know if I thought I heard that from several, and I thought that where we're at is, so approve it for that reason with the conditions of having additional landscaping and, if you want, additional grouting or attempts to make it look more stone-like.
And I think you could, certainly make it site-specific in some way in the findings. And then also, the way I've kind of been looking at the landscaping is like similarly with fences, when the commission has approved fences, they've almost always required landscaping to screen the fence, to, soften it as the visual boundary within the landscape. And I think even if this wall were stone or brick or concrete in the first place, an 8-foot tall whatever wall is not a beautiful thing to look at within the landscape, I don't think. So I think probably the commission would have said, hey, you've got this really tall wall, probably need to add some shrubs in front of it, kind of, come through this way in the first place instead of a little older wall that was thought to be over there, so.
And I just wanted to point out, it's all focused on the material. We don't always talk about walls, but we've had some conversations in the past few months about walls, and it was more about, is it sited correctly? Is it along a property boundary? So those could be even reasons. It is, what I believe that it says is that this is a retaining wall that is in, it is a wall that's a retaining wall, which is a typical function of a wall. I believe there could be reasons that it is consistent with everything else, it's just the material. Is this, that's.
Well, and if we want to be technical about it, we're allowed to use concrete. I don't think it meant use it in this way, but it says it's concrete. I don't,
Yeah, to the concrete, though, if you think about it in the historic context, it was what we would all traditionally think of as concrete.
Right, it's just a poured concrete wall with sort of a straight surface on it. That would certainly have been what the standards had in mind, presumably, and not this. But I think it's cited appropriately. I think the landscaping will help minimize its visual impact in the overall landscape of the district. And so it's in keeping, I think, with, the broader context of Montford. And I'm gonna get back to the site plan for just a second, because the other thing that is kind of true is it follows the property line, which is something we also see with walls in the district. It is serving its function to retain the grades, which is also something we see in the district. And, none of it goes past the front plane of the house either. If you look at that's a porch that wraps around the front, right? Like the edge of the retaining wall, I don't think goes in front of the house unless it did in real life in a way that's different than this site plan.
Yeah, I don't think it does. It's, what's shown on the site plan is measured from what the existing
No, it looks
the
like
wall
it's
is.
back there.
Right, so the
Several feet.
wall's behind the front plane of the structure, so it's not in the
That
front.
meets, right.
And, I think it's gonna be pretty visually uneventful when it's all said and done and the grades, the final grading's done and the landscaping is planted. And in the back, no one sees it. And so,
Are we,
Any other questions?
yeah, any other questions for the applicant? No?
Did you, we do public comment?
not yet, that's what we're just talking about.
Any public comment? Open the floor. Okay,
Sure.
come on up.
Come on.
I have some pictures. I can
Have you
show
been sworn in?
Huh? I have not been sworn in.
Okay, let's swear you in.
Swear me in.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the information you present during the hearing for a certificate of appropriateness or preliminary subdivision approval before the Historic Resources Commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
My name is Steve Sreb. I live at 109 Santee Street, next door. So my bad for not being here at the original meeting when you reviewed this property, and my bad for selling the lot. I originally developed this whole area here back in 2014, 2015. And I built these little bungalow in the front on the neighboring lot and also on a little cottage in the back. Just a little context, okay? So, and I really have been trying not to be that involved in the thing. I saw the proposal at the original meeting, and it's a much bigger house than I would have put there. But I understand it's a spec builder who's building this house, and you gotta build whatever, you gotta build the biggest house you can. My purpose, is there some way for me to hook into this system and show you a couple photographs?
Yeah, did you print out photographs or did you bring your laptop?
I brought my laptop.
Do you have an HDMI port on the side of it? You can just.
I don't think so. All I've got is a couple of UPC cords.
There are a few adapters here.
Yes, this is an adapter. And how do I get it to come?
It'll show up right there. Just give it a second.
Okay.
It does.
Should this come up?
It says it's connected. I don't know why it's not coming up.
Is there some like display option I have to do or something?
No, that's unusual.
Technology fails again.
You guys think
There we go.
Do you mind if I try?
No, please do.
Because it says it's connected, I don't know why it's not. Yeah, those.
I apologize. Okay, this is probably not, I mean, it is worth it, but let me also say that I realize that there's really nothing to be done at this point, at this late part of the process. I'm just going to see.
I'm gonna go a little,
Super low tech.
this is gonna be.
Okay, okay.
Steve, do you have them, are they like in a folder? Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. This is cool. All right. My major purpose here is just to tell you how disappointed I am in the process you guys have gone through with this property, and your staff has gone through with the property. I first my first contact with your staff, with Alex, was emailed in 10/31/22, where I sent pictures of the grading that was taking place on this lot. And I saw the original plans, and it originally proposed kind of two small retaining walls coming down in the back of the house. And I saw well, that's not a very good copy of it, is it? But I saw what they were doing with the grading, and I said, man, they're digging a huge hole out of that lot, rather than just putting the house sort of on top of the existing plane. And I don't know anything about grading. But instead of putting the house on the existing plane that it kind of extends over into my house, which is beyond the trees to the left there, they started taking all this dirt out. I contacted Alex, she contacted the city came by, and the results of that were Danny Gibson came out from the city and said, basically, there are certain requirements about how much dirt they can take out of a lot compared to how much dirt is there, and they're within those limits, and that's cool. So that was that. So then, as they began to, I kept in touch with the graders on this, and I learned pretty early that the vertiblock, I also reported that the contractors intended at that time to use vertiblock wall. This was 10/31/22. And I can get the emails for you. So didn't seem to be any concern about that. I think my next set of contacts was in 2/15/23. And this is the progress that's been made on the lot in 2/15/23. They had started delivering the wall a few days earlier, and they started to construct it in the back. And I contacted your staff again and let them know at this point what was going on. Now here's a couple of more pictures of the wall further on. So at that point, I talked to Alex, I think, or we had some email, communication, and was told that, I don't remember it was exactly here, at some point in the process I was told that, well, they may they'll put some stucco on the wall, is the message I got from you.
So, just to go back to the last meeting, they applied for an amendment to their major works CA for the whole construction project to build an 8-foot tall wall with a 4-foot wall in front of it, so it was supposed to be like a terrace, so only 4 feet of the taller wall was visible on the ground, and it was supposed to be finished in stucco, which is well within staff's ability to approve. We did not approve anything to do with the verti-block wall finish, so I just want to be clear about that, because I feel like you're.
Well, I don't know, I'm just saying, I don't know what you approved or didn't approve, I'm just telling you my communication with you, Alex, okay, and where we're at right now is you got a situation where you got to, well, let me go one more step. The next issue I had was the height of the thing, and I looked back at the video of your original meeting, and there was some discussion then of the height of the property, given what else was on the lot. I can't quote you directly, Alex, but I think you said something like, there's nothing historic on this block. All right, I invested a good bit of my money in developing my property. I don't remember the woman's name that developed the other little property on the other side of this lot, but she also developed a small little house with a little studio in the back of it that was very appropriate to the land that it sat on. I enjoyed working with you. I don't know who was here then. I enjoyed working with the commission. I enjoyed working with Stacy. It was a really, you know, one of the reasons I invested in this neighborhood was I believed that you had some investment in what was built there. And whatever was built there would be within a certain set of standards and would be appropriate to the neighborhood. I've heard that several times today. And I tried to take a picture today of really how this house stands next to mine, you know, and compare in the height and everything else. Wasn't able to do that technologically. Okay. On 3/16/23, I also notified Alex of the height of the foundation that they appeared to be laying. That was the other issue. Not only do you have now this wall, you have this big hole in the ground, you have a tall wall that goes all the way around the property, and you have, they put in this, in my mind, this very high foundation that the house sits on. So I notified Alex of that. There was a stop work order issued on this property. I don't know what the reason for that stop work order was, but it sat for a couple months not being worked on. And then at some point it was allowed to continue. A group came out and decided that it was within the height limitations, which I think was 36 feet total height of the property. And so, you know, the work continued. Now I get a notice. That's all I've got there, I think. I wasn't able to finish it. Didn't get the other photos on, but now we're in this situation. And again, I know there's not much we can do about lowering the house at this point or about not using the vertiblock wall, but I let you all know early on, the end of last year, that the vertiblock wall was coming. And there was no concern on the part of staff.
I disagree. I'm sorry, but for the record, I completely disagree. We followed our standard process of initiating enforcement action, and that is, I can
All
put
right.
together a timeline for
I'm telling you my perception, Alex, you can argue with me, but my perception is that you were not concerned about the vertiblock wall.
I was very concerned, but I can't go out and police the historic district. I'm sorry. That's
Yeah.
just not the way our
All
process
right, well,
works.
well,
If you want to
anyway.
speak to whether or not the wall meets the standards, that's what's in question.
Okay, well, the wall, I mean, I've heard pretty clearly the wall does not meet the standards. You can finesse it, you can hide it, you know, but the wall does not meet the standards. All right? Now, there's a lot of conversation in the community in Montford about this commission and your work and the way, and a lot of people feel like you really are focused on some things that they would prefer you not to be focused on, like the types of windows or replacing used windows or whether to put solar on. And I think we're having a meeting with you in the community pretty soon, coming up.
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, right? And so, I'm just like, yeah, those are important things, but you take a look at this house that you've allowed to be built in the community, you take a look at this wall you allowed to be built, and I really question, like, I'd be okay with my little piece of my tax dollars, you know, no longer supporting you. I'd be okay if you were disbanded and didn't, you know, and didn't do the work anymore. I think you guys failed.
Just FYI.
Hmm?
We're all volunteering our time.
I'm aware of that. No, I know that. You know, I'm just, you know, so I just wanted to express my disappointment. That's all. I know there's not much, if anything, that can be done. And I really, you know, I really tried to not, I don't want to be a hassle to you on this thing, but the value of my property is potentially affected by this. The quality of my daily life living there is potentially affected by this. So I just want you all to hear that. And I appreciate the time. And I don't mean to attack you. I really don't. But this is the way I've felt about the communication with you. I think the last communication I got from you, I don't know if I got it or not.
I don't think that really this is about whether or not the wall meets the design standards, not about communication with staff and how you're perceived that communication. I don't think that's fair to attack me and my professionalism in this case.
I'm telling you what it's like
Sir,
to work
sir.
with you guys, okay?
And we hear what you're saying, and the commission seems to be entertaining this, what you're saying, although their purview is usually to hear something specific before them, what doesn't meet the standards. And for you, if you're saying this process is sort of, there's no standards being followed, you really do want to do your homework. This house was approved by a certificate of appropriateness. You can find that decision that will cite all of the design standards that whatever eventually got built.
I looked
And
at that.
sometimes in the after the fact, people don't build what they were approved to build. And
Yeah,
that's the
that's-
situation we're in
That's a situation,
now.
yes, that's
Now, the
true.
grading that you mentioned would not have been, they don't have detailed grading plans here, but they do review the house design. So if you want, and I don't know if you've already asked for that, but perhaps just to take a look at how this was approved and to know that the process is followed the same for all property owners in this district, and that it's the community itself that selected the design standards many years ago when these were adopted. When they're ready to be amended, there's a process for that. And as you said, some people are suggesting a process,
Right.
but to throw the whole process out, and you're in a historic district, I mean, if you don't think there's a value to being in a historic
Well,
district
that's
with
my question.
standards-
Is there really a value given what happened next door to me? You guys decide. Is that a valuable addition? Have you been by to take a look at it?
Well, read the
Have you driven
standards to
by?
see if you agree that it met the standards as proposed, and not about grading or design.
Well, it may have met the
So-
standards, but I went out of my way to let you guys know that they were not proceeding as they proposed.
And we responded by taking the appropriate action
Okay.
that we would take with any person who made a complaint, which was to ask our enforcement staff to go and inspect the site, which they did. Every time that you emailed me, someone went out there. The stop work order was issued from our Development Services Department, and that's more about if there's an issue with a building and building safety and the building permits themselves, which would tie back to the
Oh, so the stop work order did not come from the Historic Resource Commission, came from the
No,
developer?
but I work for the city, so we're all one. I'm a city staff person, so it was a different city department that issued the stop work order.
Right.
I don't have the capacity to do that, so it's really up to our Development Services Department, where our enforcement staff reside in our organization, to say, hey, we got a complaint through the Asheville app, or someone called or emailed us, and then they go out and they make a site inspection, and then we do our best to try to assess whether or not whatever's occurring on the site is compliant with whatever permits were issued, in which case we did every time you reached out to me. And so I just want to make that clear, that it wasn't as if we were like, oh, well, whatever, we're just going to let this keep going and keep happening. The house and the wall were kind of two separate issues from the building staff, like the building permit staff. So the wall got built. Unfortunately, obviously, nobody wants to be in the position that we're all in right now and looking at something after the fact that's a challenge, you know? And so I think to this commission's credit, they're just doing the best that they can as a group of volunteers in a pretty subjective process to try to respond and figure out a solution to the problem at the end of the day. You know, we don't, again, after the fact stuff isn't great, but at the same time, like, we rely on people like you to let us know when things are happening that's not in line with what the standards say.
I tried.
And so I appreciate that, because we're not, again, we don't have capacity to go out and make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. And so we can really only respond most of the time in a so I appreciate your comments on the process. We try to make it, we follow the same thing as Janice said with every single application on the front end, but then with after the fact, the same thing, we follow the same processes. So I appreciate your sharing with us.
Yeah, well, I came last time, the last meeting that was like, what, you know, you were dealing with the Biltmore Village thing, and I left because I figured I couldn't wait all that time, and I really am, I'm personally torn about coming in front of you like this, you know, but I've been kind of,
I think
upset.
this is actually an opportunity, because if there are things in these guidelines that you, as a resident of Montford, we're open to hearing that. But
yeah,
it
I
needs to
actually
be-
don't have, you know, I don't have the same issues as some of the other people in the, you know, I figure if I buy a historic house in Montford, then, you know, my responsibility is to know what the standards are. And now, if I want to come in and I want to change all that because I want to put in new windows or solar or whatever it is, you know, I would say, I actually have different feelings about that. Let me just tell you that. I'm not one of those people that suggests we change the standards. My concern here was just, I tried, as a resident of Montford, as the neighbor of this property, to get involved. Again, my bad was I wasn't here at the first meeting, okay, sorry. And I should have been, probably. And then I could have addressed some of the things earlier. But even at that point, I wouldn't know there's a vertiblock wall coming. I wouldn't know it was standing so high on the lot, you know? So I'm not really so concerned about those things, you know, that the other people in Montford are concerned about. But, you know, I just, you know, I tried.
No, we appreciate you coming and sharing, but it helps us
Yeah,
for you to be very specific on how this is not meeting the standards that are written down that we follow.
okay. Yeah, I did not look at that
Yeah,
specifically.
that's really important, because otherwise.
Because all I'm everything looks, see, and in the original proposal, it looked
I
great.
understand.
It looked great. I mean, the house is a really nice house. You know, the house is a pretty nice house. I mean, I don't know who's going to want to buy that big a house without a yard, but it's a big, you know, it's a nice house. So I saw the house and the way it was originally planned on the site plan, and I really didn't have that many concerns. I mean, it's really close to my house, but, you know, that's nothing I can do anything about. I let that lot go, you know?
No, I understand.
Yeah.
Listen, I hear your frustration,
Yeah.
and we, as a group, really want what you want. We want a beautiful Montford neighborhood, and we
Yeah.
have guidelines that we go through.
Well,
So,
that was, you know, in working with you all, of course, you weren't necessarily individually. I think you were here, 2014, 2015 or something, Will? No? No, you weren't? You look, oh, yeah. I think you were, anyway, I really enjoyed working with you, and it really, you know.
we're super fun,
You know,
okay?
yeah,
It's-
no,
we're
I
super
wouldn't go
fun.
that far. I wouldn't go that far, but it was really helpful, you know, I got it, you know, I think I
Well, I
get.
appreciate your testimony today, and it's taken to heart, and I understand your frustration if you felt like you talked about this wall was coming, and now it's here, and now it's in front of us.
Right.
So I understand,
Yeah, we
and we
get it.
all
We
understand.
get it.
and
Okay.
We appreciate your time coming in.
I'm gonna go sit down.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to close the floor for public comment. So, where are we?
Ready for a motion?
Yeah, are we ready for a motion? Are we ready for a motion? I think so. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Chairman, based upon the evidence presented to this commission, including Exhibit A, application and project description, 2 pages, Exhibit B, site plan, Exhibit C, photographs of subject property, 9 pages, Exhibit D, vertiblock specifications, 8 pages, Exhibit E, additional photographs, 5 pages, received October 10th, 2023, and the Commissioner's actual inspection and review of the subject property by all members accepting. I move that the commission approve the certificate of appropriateness based on the following: that the application for the after the fact approval request to construct a 2 to 8 foot tall exposed vertiblock retaining wall shrubs will be planted for screening. All work will be in accordance with the attached and approved drawings and plans. All permits and variances approvals as required by law must be obtained before work may commence. The design standards for fences and walls founded on pages 36 through 37 of the Montford Historic Design Review Standards adopted April 14, 2010 and amended December 9, 2019 were used to evaluate this request. This application meets the design standards for the following reasons. Wall was constructed as a retaining wall and is sited in a location that's compatible with the traditional relationship of walls to historic properties in the district. Wall was constructed in a non-traditional material. However, the wall was constructed of concrete stone and is a structural wall. Grout has been added to the wall to aid in appearing more similar to natural stone. Wall is mostly obscured behind the house. A portion of the wall along the western property boundary will be screened with shrubs, both on top of the wall and in front of it. Is there a office approval of the in front of it shrubs?
It's
Okay.
later in the conditions.
Okay. 4, that the actions and improvements proposed in the application before us for a certificate of appropriateness are congruous with the special historic character of the Montford Historic District.
Second?
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Based upon the foregoing findings and for the reasons set forth therein, I move that a certificate of appropriateness be issued with the following conditions. 1, a revised site plan will be submitted for staff review and approval.
Second?
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, what's next? Arch Street. There we go.
Thank you, John. All right, moving on. This is a new application for the property at 8 Birch Street. The proposal has a few parts to it. This is a photo of the front of the house on the left. One of the parts of the request is to remove this bay or gang of 3 windows on the west elevation that's shown on the photo on the right-hand side, which if you're facing that side of the house is where the arrow is on the second story. They're also proposing to, and there's an updated site plan, I believe, in the folder showing the driveway, which will, when I talked with the applicant and noted my concerns about the driveway parking pad in the front, I suggested one way to soften it would be to make a track driveway instead of just this solid concrete pad. So there is a revised plan in the folder that shows that, as well as landscaping around the proposed parking pad. Let's see if I can navigate there. Here it is. So it's a pretty tight lot. I think I measured, the site plan doesn't show the walkway that's centered on the house. But I think I measured it probably like 22 feet or something between the edge of the property line on the east, or on the left side, and the walkway. And the driveway has to be set off of the property boundary by 5 feet, or the driveway apron does, to meet city standards for a new driveway. And so it's not going to be right in front of the house, but it is going to take up quite a fair amount of what is currently a very small yard. I thought I had included in here, like 1,000 years have transpired since I looked at this. Here it is. That's the right slide, the Google Street View image, so you get a better sense of how narrow this yard is. The standards do allow for driveways. I think they say something like where the topography warrants it or where the lot is otherwise limits access to the rear yard. The driveway that's in the neighboring property, I think, used to allow access into the 8 Birch Street property, but that's no longer the case, so they don't have any off-street parking. It's the request for this. I've been on this section of Birch Street at kind of an odd amount in the past 6 months or so, because I think we had major work at the house next door not too long ago. And I always feel like there's generous street parking down there, but I'm also not a property owner on a city street, so I can understand the want, obviously, for off-street parking. But I did note both, I'm definitely not recommending in favor of removal of the windows. I think that will substantially alter that elevation of the side of the house. It's a lot of windows, and so my suggestion to them was it's going to be I believe a closet or a bathroom, was to construct a wall within the space, which has been a way that people have accomplished, not having window openings in an interior space where they weren't desired versus removing them. So certainly that would be my recommendation in this case. I think like with any parking pad, we're just got to talk through it and see where you guys land on it. And then the other thing that was submitted a little bit later to me were some additional photos, because part of what we talked about after the initial application came in was removing the non-original siding, which is great, and restoring the original siding below. I don't know why this isn't loading, but there are some additional photos in your packet. Hopefully you guys can pull them up on your own computer. So that's something we would typically review at staff level, but it's just been lumped in here since they already had the major work application in. There we go.
What was that? I missed that last part.
They're just taking off the non-original siding and restoring the wood laps or the wood siding beneath, yeah, which is awesome. I think it's going to do a lot for this little house. It's a cute house. Yeah, so those were my.
Any questions for
things.
Alex?
They wanted to remove that group of 3 windows on the west side of the house, not replace them, just remove?
Correct. Yeah, they want to make it, there you can see the whole elevation there. It's the windows on the top left. So yeah, it's either, I forget which, it's either a closet or a bathroom where they don't want to have windows within the space. But they're so, this house is so short in depth, and these windows are very close to, they're closest to the front elevation. It would be highly visible from the street, and I think would definitely alter the character of the structure, in my opinion. I even think it would look weird to lose one of those windows since it's a gang of 3 and all the other ones are pairs on that side. It's and I think the standards are worded something like if additional window openings are desired, they should be on a side or rear or non-character defining elevation. They don't really say directly not to remove, but it does say windows should be retained and preserved, and openings are obviously part of what's important to a window unit. So.
And street parking is allowed in the city.
Correct.
There doesn't have to be off-street parking as long as
Right, they're not required to have any off-street parking. And this is, hopefully you all drove down there, but this street dead ends into the Riverside cemeteries, so it's pretty quiet down there. But again, I'm not discounting anybody's want to have off-street parking. I understand that. The going back to that slide, it's like the front yard is just so small. It just really will be kind of right, take up half the yard, basically. I mean, they couldn't do it on the other side either, because you can see there's a power pole and there's also a manhole on that side too, so that's why they proposed it on this particular side of the yard.
The concrete where the yard terminates, and there's a new concrete wall, is that being?
That was approved at staff level. There was an existing
repair.
retaining wall there that was really in bad shape, so thankfully not a wall to talk about with this one. Any other questions for me?
What is the proposed material for the driveway?
Concrete tracks, so it's
Concrete, pardon?
concrete tracks, like the
Treads,
track
stripes.
stripes. All right. I'm gonna
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you. Karen, are you here somewhere? Hi. Okay, I've got obviously my presentation pulled up here, but your documents are here too, so they're all probably just labeled differently than
Yeah.
what, but if you need me to help you find something, just let me know.
Awesome, thank you so much. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I think she covered it pretty well.
Sorry, did you say your name?
My name is Cameron Gourmet. I was the applicant on this one. Where was the, okay, so I want to be at the presentation. Yeah, the windows, I'm not super hopeful that y'all will approve it. I mean, my only concern on that was just, it is a bathroom. So we turned it from this front view here, this window and these windows were originally a Jack and Jill closet. It was just a 2-bedroom place, both bedrooms being upstairs there. There was no bedrooms on the main level or in the basement. So this was like a Jack and Jill closet. And the property owner, the person that bought it, said, let's turn it into the master bathroom as well as the master closet. So in splitting the difference on this far left window is where the master closet is, proceeding to the front of the house. And then these 2 windows, basically right in front of this middle window here is a toilet. And, that's going to be the vanity. So basically just in the interest of having good insulating that bathroom, I thought might be nice. The other thing we could do, I guess, is frost the glass on the original windows. We have not removed them. They're still there. Frost the glass and maybe for some privacy, but behind it would be a solid wall with drywall. So again, I think, this lot here, if the guy next door, I was talking to the guy who has the lot next door. I don't know if he has any plans to sell it or develop it, but right now it's just a burned down house and an overgrown lot. So it is, I guess in the winter you could kind of see it, but it's difficult to see in the summer, that elevation at all, really. You could see from that one picture I had in the revised pictures for the siding. No, that's not that one. The additional photos. Yeah, I was trying to, okay, it's not a touchpad. I got it. It's a button. Yeah, that'd be great. Cool. Yep, that's the one I was referring to. So yeah, for these pictures, yeah, I had to stand on top of a fallen tree to get this picture. There's no good way to get that elevation for you guys at all. So it's very overgrown. You can't see it. Obviously, you can see a peek of it from the sidewalk, but I thought I'd include that information for y'all. The other thing, so that's pretty much the window issue settled. I mean, that's all I have to say about it. I guess the other thing with continuity here, right? You've got these 2 windows at the bottom randomly in the basement. This window here in the middle, we're adding a bathroom there, which Originally, it was sold as a 2-2
Where are you now?
on the
You're in the
bottom, in the
basement
base.
level?
I'm in the basement now.
Are you changing those windows?
We are not changing those windows. We have no intention to. We already built the wall, and we're building an extra big sill to get to that window. Yeah, that was somehow listed as one of the bathrooms, but it was the scariest, most unusable bathroom I've ever seen. Yeah, so it was terrifying. You can look up the Zillow, it's scary. So we made that a functional bathroom. But my only thought with this 3-window thing, it's like you've got boom, boom, boom right in a row, 2, 2, 2. You've got 2 there, and then you have this 3. It's the only 3 in the house. To me, it's already out of place. And then, all right, that's all I have to say about the window, I think. And then the driveway, I guess my only thing with that is we're the only house on the street without a driveway. Owner doesn't care about the windows either. Whatever you guys decide is fine. We are putting a bathroom in there regardless of what happens. But this driveway thing, he felt pretty passionate about me trying to win y'all over on it. Alex said maybe you can soften the blow. According to the standards, we got to have some landscaping obscuring the view of it, which we're fine doing. That's not even an issue. We'll make this driveway out of whatever you recommend is appropriate. We do have room where we're not obstructing the house, and we still have the 5-foot radius that I need for code for the curb and for the driveway going through the sidewalk. So we do still have room where we're like, the driveway will not be in front of the house. Got the 5-foot radius. And I heard you refer to the new concrete wall that I had approved on the minor work. I have no idea where that picture would be at, but this guy here, when we repaired that wall, I mean, it was in the neighbor's driveway and it was on the ground over here. Like it wasn't a wall; it was cinder blocks on the ground when we found it. So we went ahead and did that. In order to keep 6 Birch Street happy, who Alex said that you dealt with them. We built that wall like 6 inches off the property line. There's a great survey. There's a great pink rebar showing exactly where the property line's at. So I have a very good idea where that property line is, and I think we'd be able to make that swing and have the driveway still not obstructing the front of the building. And I think that's all I have to say about the driveway. I mean, like I said, the owner really wants it really bad. I guess it's just because there's like 3-4 houses being constructed right now. For me, parking has been tight. I have to like park way up the street and lug all my tools, and I've been really trying to be respectful of not using 6 here to 6 their driveway. I don't want to mess it up or tear it up with my trailers or tires or anything. So, I'm sure it's fine once all this construction's over, but right now it is definitely difficult for sure. Yeah, and I think that's all I have to say about the driveway. And then, right at the buzzer, when I offhandedly made a comment telling you how, like, we're really trying to do a good job with this house and keep it historic, and I really like the challenge of it, but it's been crazy hard to do. It's been really, really hard to bring this thing back up to normal. But I was like, yeah, we want to go back to the original siding. The owner had just decided that, like, before we talked. And you're like, oh, you should add that to the meeting. So I just wanted to make you all aware, like, I have to repair part of the siding no matter what happens. And then if you want me to throw the tin back up, I'll do that. But, like, there are giant water holes, termite holes, regular, and any kind of hole that you can imagine it would be in a siding, it's there. So no matter what happens, I have to replace some of it in the interest of keeping it airtight and watertight, and you know what I mean? So I figured, why don't we just tear it off? So I had to do some very serious foundation work here.
That's gonna be great.
Is the reason I tore this off. I had to reframe, and I mean, I think I had to redo this sill here. Yeah, so we are hoping to get the permit to get all the lead off there and go ahead and repair that. And I work with Asheville Woodworks over there in Swananoa. They can make it exactly the same Dutch siding as what exists. So he'll make it the exact same. It won't be any different. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Any questions?
Can you tell us a little more about the proposed retaining wall?
Oh yeah, no, it's already done. The retaining wall. I don't know.
There's no proposed, it's always.
This guy.
Yeah, there's
Yep,
the picture.
this guy. Yeah, when we bought the place in June, the owner bought the place. I'm just the contractor. Like this guy was on the ground. This guy was on the ground. They hit it pulling the old car out of the back. It was a couple that lived there for like 60 years. And they also took out this corner post on this deck in the process. So this one they said had been on the ground for like 15 years. And then this one fell when they took this car out. And they broke 3 winches on 3 tow trucks trying to get a 1950 sedan out of there in the backyard that, yeah, it was full of all kinds of stuff and flooded and stuff. And they made several tow companies mad. And it was funny because I think I have a picture of my dumpster guy. My dumpster's right behind this porta-john, and I called my dumpster guy when I started this process. I said, hey, I need a dumpster at 8 Birch Street. He's like, oh, they owe me $8,000. I took 12 dumpsters of trash out of that place. Oh, so I said, okay, well, we'll figure that out when it gets sold, I guess. Yeah. So, yeah. We really cleaned it up. We're trying to do a good job with this place.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Can you show the east elevation again?
Yeah, east. Southeast, there it is. Yeah, this corner here in particular is bad. All termite and rot and everything. And that window is not altered. That's exactly how it was. I think the bottom sill fell off with the tin, but it's a little cranky. Yeah, it's a little cranky, and it opens that way. Yeah, no problem. Good? All right.
I think so.
All right,
Yep,
awesome.
thank you. Open the floor for public comment? Yes, you do. You've been sworn in.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm Sam,
Hi, Sam.
Sam Kerber. I'm actually here with Ken for his house, but I'm gonna have to go, but he can handle it. But what I wanted to say as far as the off-street parking, it just occurred to me how nice it would be if you had an electric car to be able to plug in, which, I don't know, I like off-street parking. Just thought it might be something to consider. Because you wouldn't want an extension cord going across the sidewalk. No.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, we'll close the floor for public comment. Commissioners?
Well, I think staff's suggestion about the windows, leaving them in place and blocking them, because you do see those when you're leaving the cemetery. As and it looks weird with a house when there's a tooth missing. And I struggle with the parking in front, just because a lot of the standards push us to no parking in the front of your house. And I know this is a small lot and a unique 4-square building, but I wonder if that, I think the standards lead me to think that changes the character of the front of the house when you have such a small lot and you add a parking thing. And I'd like to hear what other commissioners think on that portion of it, or all the portions of it, really.
I think I agree with you on the window, on the west elevation. I think there's been, we've certainly had this exact parking conversation before in other properties with similar site constraints, right? If there isn't a way to get beyond the house, because it's narrow, we obviously have a grade change there. Clearly, it was very hard to get a car out when it was down there. So I feel mostly comfortable with the way that it's, I think in the revised site plan, that the softening of the paving, the paved surface of it, minimizing the paving, the landscaping, I think it sort of squeezes just past the front of the house in terms of just looking at it in plan. But there's, I think, other examples in the district where this same kind of parking configuration happens in very similar lot constraints where it's narrow and difficult to get to. And certainly Birch Street has a precedent in and of itself of off-street parking in the adjacent properties also.
Yeah, a lot of those have driveways.
Right, they go back and down.
This is a unique property that I think might be one of the few that has no.
It's the only one without any kind of driveway.
Mhm.
Yeah. But
You
I
have
can't think
to-
of another one.
Sorry, you have to speak into the microphone and give
Yeah.
big statements,
Yeah,
because it's on, we're recording.
It's the only one with any kind of without any kind of driveway, but like you said, it's kind of also the only one without the opportunity for a driveway that goes beyond the house.
Yeah, it looks like there
Yeah.
was a shared agreement that fell apart.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's that empty lot, so there's fire damage and everything like that, but,
On that side.
this,
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
there was a split of some kind for sure, yeah.
Can we clarify for the record, did you agree to that revised plan with the landscaping and the strip?
Yeah, absolutely,
okay.
yeah.
I just want to be sure that
Yeah.
that's what you're discussing. Okay.
Mm.
Well, and is the property owner amenable to sort of building a false wall in front of the windows and leaving the windows in place?
Yeah, the
As a
windows aren't an issue. We want to go with whatever y'all recommend. I mean, like I said, my only concern from a builder's standpoint, I guess, would be insulation. But beyond that, if we want to keep the windows, the appearance that they're still there, but not functional, yeah, he's fine with that.
So would that be amending the application to not even reference the windows, the removal of the windows any longer, right?
Right, if it comes to it, then
If that's.
you would make an amendment to remove the removal of the windows, right?
Right, yeah, eliminate the elimination of the windows.
That's right. Exactly.
I agree with both of you. I agree with you with the windows. And like you, I think I could live with the driveway, the way it's configured here.
I agree with the decision to keep the windows in place as well. Today, it might be a master bedroom, in 5 years, it could be a totally different room. And it would look very odd to have a blank wall like that side. And there are ways to insulate that, if that's what you're worried about.
Yeah,
You could get some insulation into the false wall.
right, of course, yeah.
Hey, Karen, just to be clear, you mentioned something about frosting the glass. Are you just talking about building a wall on the inside? I guess
Yeah, I mean, I guess so that the people walking by that can still see the existing windows aren't looking at the back of drywall and insulation. Does that make sense?
You don't want to change the appearance
No,
of the window.
no, it's just for the people outside. It makes no difference to the person inside.
Would it be some
No,
kind
but-
of like stick-on or something? Like, how would you do that? I just want to make
Just-
sure whatever it is like removable in the future, because the glass,
Yeah.
if it's got the original glass, that's obviously important.
Yeah, some of these windows don't have them. I just get them down at Ace Hardware, But a spray paint with the frosting, right? You can do that from the inside. Scrape it off with a razor blade. Glass is super easy to clean. If not, I could do a stick roll on whatever.
I mean, I don't think, you're probably not even gonna like realize that you're looking at drywall probably if you're walking by, but I don't know if the commission has an opinion on
Right. Yeah, we're open to whatever.
And sometimes you've got to put some supplemental framing in that opening to fasten stuff to, that might be, unless you kind of line it up with the mullions,
No,
you
what-
might see it, but.
Yeah, like he was saying, I mean, it would, if you were to tear down the wall, you could still use that window. We're not destroying the window.
Right.
But, walking by, I guess you'd be able to see, as a person walking by, you could just see the back of bat insulation and drywall, I mean.
Yeah. But they do make a removable, like, frosting.
Exactly,
thing.
right, but there'd be no way to get to that if it were to fall off, That's why I was thinking about that spray paint. Tape off the wood frame and spray the glass.
Would the owners be open to like interior shutters or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna make a difference to the owners because it's gonna be behind a wall for them. They're not gonna see it at all. Like I was just saying, I think I have one outlet going there and then the toilet's right on the other side of the middle window. So I don't want the people walking by to see my Romex. Here we go, that's how you scroll up. I want them to see my Romex running through this window right here, getting to this vanity outlet. And then, I don't know if we're gonna if we're gonna keep the storm windows or not. If I can get the original windows in good enough shape, and we're already removing all the tin siding anyway, I mean, we're going to have to remove them anyways. 90% of them are broken anyways. So it's either put new storm windows on, or if we can get the old ones the originals looking pretty enough, just leave them like that. So,
Yeah, I guess at least to me, it's not within the commission's purview what happens on the interior anyways. We're just concerned with the windows being
Right.
yeah,
preserved.
of course.
So, you can, whatever works for the programming of the interior space is up to you guys, I think.
Okay.
Where is the condenser unit for the mini split located?
Oh, yeah, so we eliminated the mini split. It was, the owner thought we were gonna do a mini split in the basement. Right now, we just have one condenser here on this, I guess, the south side of the house behind this deck. This is kind of the only spot we could put it next to this tree stump. And
There's
it's
an
a regular central AC there. We're not trying to do a mini split. I think I amended
So
that.
it's an existing unit, or?
No, the gas meter was inside the basement and the oil tank was inside the basement when we started. There was no AC, just heat.
Okay, but is that part of this application? Did I miss that?
Originally it was. I asked for a mini split, and then when I updated it to send it to you, I deleted the mini split and added the siding.
Okay, so we're not talking about mechanical
Mm-mm.
today. Okay,
No.
okay. Thank you. I just want to make sure I was
Yeah.
a little bit like I'm losing it.
Any other questions for the applicant, or can we let them sit down? Take a break? Any other comments from commissioners on, I think we're okay on windows getting approved. And how about parking? Anybody want to talk about parking? Just me.
So I heard Emily, you made comments in support of parking.
Yep.
You were not necessarily. Anybody else?
I agree with Emily.
Okay.
I agree with Emily as well.
Everybody agrees with it.
I like the revision of the 2 tracks.
I'll entertain a motion if someone would like to make one.
Well, we can't because we
Oh,
don't
we'd
have.
like to
we don't-
open the-
We don't have quorum
We don't have a
because
quorum
Sue
'cause
left.
Right.
So we gotta wait for Sue to come back.
Yeah.
Good eye.
Sorry. Sounds like we're ready to roll once she comes
Yeah.
back. I'll just
Are we ready?
If you asked, I think you might find one.
Are you ready for a motion?
I think so. Okay. Madam Chair, based upon the evidence presented to this commission, including Exhibit A, application 2 pages, Exhibit B, site plan received June 28th, 2023, Exhibit C, revised site plan received October 10th, 2023, Exhibit D, initial submittal plans and photographs 4 pages, Exhibit E, project description, plans, and photographs 5 pages received August 18th, 2023, Exhibit F, additional photographs showing original siding and trim, 4 pages received October 11th, 2023, and the Commission's actual inspection and review of subject property by all members except. I move that this Commission approve the certificate of appropriateness based on the following: that the application is for construction of a 10-foot wide by 18-foot long concrete track driveway parking pad in front yard. Driveway will be screened with landscaping, remove non-original siding and restore original wood siding and trim. Any new material will be wood and will match original in material, dimension, and texture. All work will be in accordance with attached and approved drawings and plans. All permits, variances, or approvals as required by law must be obtained before any work may commence. That the design standards for walkways, driveways, and off-street parking found on pages 50 and 51, windows and doors on pages 84 and 85, and materials, wood on pages 65 and 66 of the Montfort Historic District Design Review Standards adopted April 14th, 2010, and amended December 9th, 2019 were used to evaluate this request. This application does meet the design standards for the following reasons.
Hang on, just a second. Sorry. All right.
Okay. New off-street parking area driveway respects the rhythm and spacing of the streetscape and is located so that the topography of the site is maintained. Parking will be screened. Non-original siding is being removed and original wood siding is being retained and preserved. That the action and improvements proposed in the application before us for a certificate of appropriateness are congruous with the special historic character of the Montfort Historic District.
We have a motion?
Second?
All approve?
Aye.
Any abstains?
I oppose, because I don't think that the driveway, I think it affects this historic character of the site. So.
So you're opposed? One opposed.
Based upon the foregoing findings and for the reasons set forth therein, I move that a certificate of appropriateness be issued.
Can we ask for, can there be a condition that we get a revised site plan showing the species of the
Yes.
screening?
With the following conditions: that the applicant will submit a revised landscaping plan to staff for review indicating species and types of plantings proposed.
All approve?
Nope, we need a second.
Oh, sorry.
Second.
All approve?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks, Cameron.
Thank
I'll
you.
follow up with you in the next 2 days or so.
We're going to take a 10-minute break.
Yeah, how about 5? Okay, did you call the meeting back to order?
No, I did not. Meeting's back.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to be real quick with this one, even though it's a new building, but it's just because this was actually approved way back in 2016. So this is just the site map, 159 Pearson with the little accessory structure on the alley behind it. It's a picture of the front of the main house that faces Pearson. Some more photos, you can see that the slab for the accessory structure was built. It just was never fully constructed. So just, there's the proposed site plan down at the bottom. You can kind of see in the photo on the right, the relationship between the structure, the two structures. And then here are the elevation drawings. So the only thing I didn't note any concerns. I just asked that the applicant provide all the manufacturer specifications, which we have everything now. And I just asked for confirmation on the garage doors because that was the only thing we didn't have manufacturer specifications for, and he confirmed that they'll be wood and may or may not be custom built for the structure to function more like carriage house doors versus a automated garage door. So that can just be a condition that we confirm that one way or another, because obviously it's going to look a little different if they're not custom garage doors. So not noting any concerns.
Any questions for Alex?
All right.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
The applicant?
I've got my slides here, but then we've got your whole folder of stuff here too, so I'll just let you drive.
And you're sworn in, correct?
I am,
Okay.
yes.
So whatever you want to have.
Sure, yeah. My name is Ken Porter Shirley. I'm the owner of 159 Pearson. I think I've totaled maybe 20 hours in this room over the past 20 years. Yeah. So, so we, in 2016, we were planning on building the ADU and then ultimately got to the pad and then with adolescent boys and other things, we just got derailed and stopped, and now we're having appropriate time. We've not made any changes to the plan at all. It's, I don't know what else I can tell you. It's, a story and a half. It's stucco on the bottom and shakes on the top. There'll be an apartment on the second floor and, basic garage, which will probably be a shop underneath it. Yeah. Any questions or?
What is the square footage?
I think it's rough. So it's a 22 or 24 by 24, so just under 1,000 square feet total. The upstairs, I think, is like 490 or 480.
Yeah, so it's in the property description on the staff report. It's 1,092 square feet. And the allowable size for an ADU is up to 800, 70% of the primary structure, or 800 square feet. So obviously that one's, it's just the upper level that's the dwelling unit calculation. So 400-ish square feet.
Any questions for the applicant? Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Commissioners? Do we have any public comment? No? Close the floor for public comment. Commissioners? Lively. Any questions, comments?
I'm prepared to make a motion if there's no further comments, questions, or other things.
Yeah.
Chair, based upon the evidence presented to this commission, including Exhibit A, application and project description, 3 pages, Exhibit B, floor plans, elevation drawings, and site plans, 5 pages, Exhibit C, photographs and subject property, 5 pages, Exhibit D, new construction worksheet, 4 pages, Exhibit E, manufacturing specifications, 58 pages, received October 13th, 2023, and the commissioner's actual inspection and review of the subject property by all members except. I move that this commission approve the certificate of appropriateness based on the following: that the application is to construct a 1.5-story, 1,092 square foot accessory structure on existing slab. Structure will have pebble dash and painted wood shake siding and asphalt shingle roof in a to-be-determined color with exposed rafter tails. Windows will be Anderson 100 series fiberglass 9/1 double hung in black. Pedestrian doors will be Anderson E series half-light and multi-light aluminum clad. Garage doors will be custom wood with multi-light transforms, and all trim and soffits will be painted wood. 14 by 8 foot 3 deck with wood flooring and railings matching primary structure will extend from the north elevation. A wood stair with matching rail will access the upper story on west elevation. Existing gravel driveway accessing the structure from Danville Place will be paved with concrete. New concrete pad will be constructed beneath deck on west elevation, and at the base of access stair, new mechanical unit will be installed beneath stair. Ground cover must be established within 15 days of completion of construction. Excuse me. And the remainder of the landscaping must be installed within 3 years. If archaeological resources are discovered during site work, work will cease until city staff has been notified and have inspected the site. All work will be in accordance with attached and approved drawings and plans. All permits, variances, or approvals as required by law must be obtained before work may commence. 2, that the standards for carriage houses, garages, and accessory structures found on page 34 through 35, landscaping and trees on pages 40 through 41, decks on pages 38 through 39, lighting on pages 42 through 43, walkways, driveways, and off-street parking on pages 50 through 51, archaeology on pages 32 through 33, and utilities and mechanical systems on pages 82 through 83 of the Montfort Historic Design Review Standards adopted April 14, 2010, and amended December 9th, 2019, were used to evaluate this request. The application does meet the design standards for the following reasons. Proportion of new accessory structure is compatible with the proportion of the primary structure in terms of height, footprint, and massing. It is no more than 30% of the main house and no taller than 1.5 stories. The new accessory structure is sited in a location so as to be in keeping with the historic pattern in terms of relationship to primary structures, traditional location of ancillary buildings, orientation, setback, retention of green space, and spacing between structures. New accessory structure has traditional roof form, materials, and details compatible with the main building. D, new mechanical unit will be inconspicuously located and screened with shrubs. 4, that the action and improvements proposed in this application before us for a certificate of appropriateness are congruous with the historic character of the Montfort Historic District.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Based upon the foregoing findings and all the reasons set forth therein, I move that a certificate of appropriateness be issued with the following conditions. Roof color will be submitted to staff for review and approval. And that's it.
Second.
All approve?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
I don't know why I'm whispering.
Thank you.
All right, last one. More walls. We've had our quota of after the fact walls for a while. This one, at least, I'm not noting any concerns because they are sided in normal ways and are made of, have stone veneer. So This was also a newly approved primary structure on, that it's now addressed Woodside Place, but it's actually fronts on, faces Gudger Street. As you can see on the map on the left, the site plan on the right is showing you where all the walls are and the various heights and lengths of the walls. So again, this is like one of those lots that was weird. We knew it was gonna be weird. We just didn't know it was gonna be this weird to build on. In the original HRC approval, there was a retaining wall on either side of the front elevation, because the lot slopes back down away from the street. But obviously, when they started building, it necessitated quite a lot of retaining wall. So you can kind of, this is the original site plan on the left that was approved, and on the left showing all the different sections of walls. There are a bunch of photos in your packet. I did not include all of them because there were so many, just to give you some representative photographs. I should say too that in addition to the wall, there's that set of steps you can see in the top left-hand image. That goes from the walkway that travels from, if you see the parking area down on the bottom of the site plan on the left, there's the walkway that travels from that bottom corner of the lot up along the side of it to connect to the front steps of the house. That's a pea gravel driveway. It was approved that way, but instead of the steps coming off of the parking area and connecting into that little walkway, there's now steps coming off of the walkway up to the street, if that makes sense. If you went by there, it probably easier to see what I'm describing, but you can see the steps in that top left photograph. So yeah, it is a lot of walls, but I don't think that they, the site wouldn't be developable without probably all of this work occurring there. And I think the walls they're interior to the lot and are all retaining, so not noting any concerns. Anybody have questions for me? Okay. Super.
Oh, Alex, sorry, I do think I have a question.
Okay.
It looks like a good bit of landscaping has been done. Do we need any updates to landscaping plan to reflect what they've done?
I think that's up to you all. I think, no, they did include that, sorry. It's in one of the site plans that's in the packet. I did look at that.
Oh, I see.
So they
Planting layout, yeah.
Yeah, they eliminated, reduced the number of shrubs to be planted by 14 and trees by 1. So they did reduce the amount of landscaping that was originally included on the site plan, but I'm looking at, comparing them. I didn't think it really, they were proposing a good bit of landscaping to begin with, so. But good question, thank you. I've been so focused on the walls. Anything else for me? Okay, thank you. Applicant? Hi, are you ready?
I am.
Okay, nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
We've got, obviously my slides here, but then we've got all your documents. If there's anything else you want to pull up, it's all in that folder right there.
Okay. First, thank you, Alex, for getting me in on this. That was a big deal. We would be a month out if she hadn't made that exception. We actually added a tree, and we did get rid of a bunch of bushes. And it mainly had to do with the utility of the space. The retaining walls, the two that were drawn by the architect were not sufficient to fit the house on the lot comfortably. The way that the land grades is completely different than the way it was shown on the original topographical survey. And I just sort of addressed it. I should have come through your all's, the proper channels and gone through you all first, but basically we went through 2 or 3 different retaining wall folks, and they just weren't gonna get the job done and give us the finish that we needed to match the quality of work that we wanted. And so by the time we finally found that proper retaining wall company and were able to get a price that was comfortable for the owner, just kept moving, grinding it out, making sure that everything worked. And I think we did a beautiful job. Hopefully you all do too. That's it.
I'm sorry, did you state your name for the record?
Oh, Raymond Thompson, Surefoot Builders, general contractor.
And he was sworn in, right?
Yes.
Sworn in
I
Yeah, he
raised
was
my hand.
early.
Okay.
He's been here.
I swear, it's true.
Any questions?
Thank you for not constructing a dirty block wall.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any questions? No? Open the floor for public comment.
Thank you.
Close the floor for public comment. We ready for a motion?
Any discussion?
Quiet group here.
Yeah, I concur with staff that for that space lot and that size, that's what has to happen.
Yeah.
And it looks great. So I am
Does.
prepared to make a motion if there's no hesitation amongst others.
Any hesitation? No.
Chair, based upon the evidence presented to this commission, including Exhibit A, application for the project description, 4 pages, Exhibit B, site plan, 3 pages, Exhibit C, photographs of subject property, 24 pages, Exhibit D, owner's affidavit, and the commissioner's actual inspection and review of subject property by all members accepting. I move that the commission approve the certificate of appropriateness based on the following. 1, that the application for an after-the-fact approval to construct additional sections of stone veneer retaining wall ranging in height from 12 inches to 63 inches throughout the site, and to construct a stone stairway connecting from front walkway to the street. Revisions previously approved landscape plan to reduce the number of shrubs to be planted by 14 and trees by 1. All work will be completed in accordance with approved and attached drawings and plans. All permits, variances, or approvals as required by law must be obtained before work may commence. 2, that the design standards for fences and walls found on page 36-7, walkways, driveways, and off-street parking on pages 50 through 51, and landscape and trees on pages 40 to 41 of the Montfort Historic Design Review Standards adopted April 14, 2010, and amended December 9th, 2019, were used to evaluate this request. The application does meet the design standards for the following reasons. A, new walls are sited in locations that are compatible with traditional historic relationships to walls and the historic properties in the district. B, new walls are faced with stone. C, new walkway, stairs, stone, and compatible with the site and district in terms of dimension, configuration, materials, texture, and color. D, revised landscape plan for new construction incorporates an adequate amount of foundation plantings and mature trees. And number 4, that the action and improvements proposed in the application before us for a certificate of appropriateness are congruous with the special historic character of the Montfort Historic District.
Second.
All approve?
Aye.
Any oppose?
Based upon the foregoing findings and for reasons set forth therein, I move that a certificate of appropriateness be issued without condition.
Second.
All approve?
Aye.
Any oppose? Thank you.
Thank you.
Should we note that this is a natural stone, or is it too late to enter first?
No.
That caused a lot of confusion with the first, cultured stone versus natural stone.
Well, I think we specified in the findings for the first one that it wasn't stone.
That's very well.
Yeah, it was read into the findings, that it was concrete.
The exhibits.
It does also say in section 1, it's the section of stone veneer retaining walls, so the veneer is stone as well.
Perfect.
site visit is Tuesday, October 24th, next week at 11 a.m. If you would like to come and take a tour of the building. In anticipation of looking at the landmark designation, which, if just as a reminder, we just have the preliminary application in review, so the next step will just be the commission weighing in to give advice to the applicant on whether or not they should pursue the full designation report, because all we have is the partial report. So that will be the purpose of the site visit, is to look at the physical condition and to get a better sense of the integrity of the building, both inside and out. So we'll be going through the inside.
Is there a basement?
I'm sure there is. Are you really excited to go in the basement for some reason?
I always like to go in the
Yeah.
spaces no one gets
Emily
to
and I
see.
like the spaces.
Okay, well, we're
To
not
go
gonna
where we
stop
don't
it.
get-
Where we-
Well,
Other
no,
people
I
don't
wanted-
get a chance to see it. You get to see.
It's been so long since I've been in that building.
Full basement.
Okay, that would make sense.
It is big.
Because it's cheaper, like, for people to be down there who sell their stuff.
Gotcha.
But, yeah.
I don't think I'll be able to make it.
That's fine. It's not required, but
I thought I could make it. It turns out my meeting is going till 12 because I thought I was going to be over at 10:30.
I gotcha. It's fine. We don't have to have a quorum. We just need at least a few.
And I'm very familiar with the building. I used to spend like all my lunch breaks in there. When I
Okay.
worked for like 10 years. I loved going there.
Yeah, I think when we went to Walton Street, we only had like 4 people, so it's not a mandatory thing. It's just we need enough people to be able to weigh in on. And then, so the other item I had was just a reminder about our retreat on November 17th. We've confirmed the location's gonna be at Citizen Vinyl. And-
My office is in that building.
Oh, really?
So we'll come there too.
You could. We could
Wanna
take
Cool. Yeah, we're gonna be in Studio B then, where the recording studio is.
Have you been up there before?
Yes,
It's very cool.
yes.
can't wait.
Yes, it's very cool.
We'll be there, and I'll send all this out, so don't feel like you have to remember, but it'll be 8:30 to 4. We're gonna have 4 sessions. I've already confirmed 3, so we'll have a session with Janice, legal training, and then we'll have Catherine Cutshall from the library is gonna come give a talk, and then Annie is gonna give a talk on county historic resources, and then I'm still working on the 4th session, and then we will have coffee and pastries in the morning, and we will provide lunch as well, and then we're also doing a tour of the building. So we get to do all the fun things.
Tour is very cool. Yes.
Is the person giving the tour, can they talk about the adaptive reuse? I mean, it's just like a tour, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're probably more talking to us about the record stuff.
Yeah, I've been on that tour.
Have you?
It's pretty good, actually. They do tie in a lot of the history of the building
Oh,
and,
cool, okay.
especially like the recording studio and stuff. There's some cool stuff about it, so it
Yeah.
will be cool.
Yeah, so,
And if you want to give Alex ideas on the legal training, I mean, there's lots of different things we could do for legal training. I mean, we've done past cases before, North Carolina cases, or something on quasi judicial, or did we talk about, I don't know, just any questions that maybe you have, that you'd like to hear. You had asked me about some information, and I sent out those questions.
yeah.
What do I
it's
call it? Like, dear letter to Charlie, or whatever. But anyway, that was something about commissioners, all of the top 10 reasons, things that the commission needs to know from an attorney. So those articles are always helpful, and I can recirculate those, but see what you have questions about.
Well, it's exciting. This is the first retreat we've had in 5 years.
Forever.
I was looking at our
Wow.
records, and it was,
5 years?
yeah, because it was
Wow.
before the pandemic, and so.
How was your conference in Durham? What did you learn? What happened? Who'd you meet?
Wow. Well, I met Janice's friend Meg.
I went to the conference.
Yeah,
You know, I'm a planner by training, and I have
Did you
say
meet the-
AICP. I hadn't gone to a planning conference in several years, but I have been in Durham. You know, I went to graduate school at UNC, so I had an internship in downtown Durham. Doesn't tell me how old I am, but 1997. And I remember working at Self Help Credit Union. It was on Main Street. And I came out at 5 o'clock, and I'm like, this is Main Street in Durham. I could lie down in the middle of the street, and nobody would run over me because there's tumbleweeds. Oh, what they have done, they have
Yeah.
housing built downtown. I went on the tours, which are always
Mhm.
helps.
Yeah, really.
So, I mean, I would say that that was really interesting, but Alex did a presentation on equity and historic preservation.
And I've just only been able to think about all the things I wish that I hadn't left out in my presentation since then. But no, it was really good, and we had like standing room only
It was
for our
really fun.
session. We had like
Awesome.
70
Good for
people,
you.
so I presented with Wake Forest staff and Raleigh staff, and we were all just talking about what we're doing to move,
Mhm.
you know, be more equitable in our preservation program. So it was a good session. So I couldn't stay for the last day, and the only session I really enjoyed was the session that Janice and I went on the tour. Otherwise, I heard a
That was an awesome
sustainability plenary where the first 15 minutes the person was defining what the word climate means, and I'm like,
Sweet.
you're talking to the wrong audience. Like all of these people know what climate change is. So, anyways, I didn't get really much out of the conference from a learning perspective, but it was good to be amongst other planners and to see so many people show up for our session and supported preservation when really a lot of times we're like preservation's kind of an afterthought when it comes to planning for a lot of planners. I wouldn't say not all planners for sure, but for a lot of planners it's
And I said to Alex, that's why historic preservation people need to go to the planning conferences, and even though the preservation conferences are probably more fun, you're just preaching to the choir. But planners can forget that this is part of the
Yeah.
integral process if there's not always at a planning conference. I'll say the thing I learned, one of the things on the preservation one was how do you have more diverse historic commissions, because they don't. And we've
Right.
struggled with that here. But what Wake Forest learned was that a lot of Black churches meet on Wednesday evenings. And so they had always had their Wednesday
Yep.
evening. And so they changed it to like a Tuesday afternoon or something, or mornings even. And then they had more applicants that came from different backgrounds. But it was kind of, I never would have thought of
That's
that.
a really good point.
Yeah.
A lot of church
And a
stuff
lot of
happens
people
on
in the
Wednesday.
room were like, yeah, there's other things to do on a Wednesday night, so that was good.
yeah, and then Raleigh and I know Charlotte and I'm not sure where else, but I know they both are implementing these street side historic districts. So it's like the first 50% of only the historic building is controlled, and the front yard, and then new construction is controlled unless it's an accessory structure that's like behind it. But they don't control additions in those. So like they showed one photo example of this
Interesting.
really
Yeah.
wacky modern. I mean, it wasn't. I shouldn't say wacky. It just was like kind of strange in its design, and I love modern architecture. It just looked kind of weird
Is
on
that?
the back of this house, but that's one thing that they're doing.
And but it's not in, like, I would expect that to be in sort of a dense urban environment where the street level experience is important, but maybe not what happens behind there. But that was in a residential neighborhood?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's interesting that they gave that as an example for equity because they're not really seeing any shift even with we met with them and Chapel Hill because I know Sue's met Kendra Tashoma. She's another planner with our department and she's been helping with the missing middle stuff. And we've been meeting with other staff from other cities to talk to them about what they're doing in terms of conservation overlays, et cetera, to help more vulnerable neighborhoods. And what's ended up being the case is that wealthier white neighborhoods are going after the conservation overlay in the face of things like trying to increase density through missing middle and things like that. And so they're like, Chapel Hill said they straight up had abandoned their conservation overlay efforts because
It
wasn't
being
doing what they wanted
misused.
it to do. And that really the only way that they're seeing any success is to layer where they have a community foundation that does things like helps with home repair, funding and property tax assistance and things like that to help people stay in their neighborhoods. And then maybe having a zoning component to that looks like a conservation overlay or a historic district overlay to help preserve the neighborhood character, but it can't obviously just be the zoning thing because that's just going to cause more gentrification, many things. So I don't know that anybody's figured out the right.
But the focus was on this concern about gentrification and how do you save these neighborhoods, but also knowing that the population has not normally been engaged in the planning process, is distrustful of cities and planning processes, and doesn't want to have a historic district put on them because they're like, oh, my values are going to go up, I can't afford it.
Right, the risk
And
of
we've kind of seen
gentrification
that.
is high,
So this
right.
street overlay where it was like, at least can we keep the pattern of like front porches or even some driveways or something, was a little bit of, okay, that will keep our character. But they were also, I think it was Raleigh, and wait for it, was it, mainly it was Raleigh, tear downs are their big thing. People going into these neighborhoods that are not historic districts, and even if they are, you can't stop the tear downs.
Well,
Yeah.
If the gentrification, can delay it by,
Right.
time of year.
Well, and
It's interesting.
they're seeing what happened on Charlotte Street, where it's like a property owner aggregating property and then getting political will behind their project because they're saying affordable housing.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, they're really building townhome units that are gonna sell for probably, what, $2 million?
Yeah.
So,
Offsetting 30 affordable
Right.
housing.
Right.
right.
so they're seeing that struggle as well, and on the edges of National Register districts, right? Where
Right.
it's not, oh, we're like in the middle, we're gonna blow up a bomb and everybody's gonna freak out. It's like more palatable, I guess, because it's on the edge. But to go back to what James was saying about the street side overlay, it was like front porches were recognized as a way of, what did they say? It's like the way you would watch for your kid to get off the school bus and things like that. It's like more like the sense of community that a porch.
Welcoming infrastructure.
Mhm.
Welcoming community.
And that's what I've heard in East End, a lot of the pushback on some of the new houses that are built is they're all facing downtown off the back porch, and there is no common front
Right.
relationship to the neighborhood. The relationship is, it's gone. And that's, was just another strike. I guess.
Yeah,
And in new construction under zoning laws on single family, we can't require front porches. We can do some orientation and things like that, but if it's an overlay, something protecting something that was existing, then at least you get to preserve something of that historic.
Yeah, we're just trying to find the sweet spot because, we really want people to be able to stay in their neighborhoods. I think what is our, obviously we have a very small minority population, but our Black population in particular has gone from like 40% in the 1960s to now we're like somewhere between 11 and 12, I think. So it's a struggle, but just on that note, we are continuing to meet with the Legacy Neighborhood Coalition. So stay tuned. We're trying to we've never really as a department done neighborhood planning specifically, even though we do have small area plans and we do have neighborhood specific plans, like Birch Street has a plan, Shiloh has a plan. But we're really gonna start motivating around that so that we can work within our legacy neighborhoods to help however we can. So
The cottage clusters and flag lot thing, I think is.
that's going to council next week. So if you have thoughts about flag lots and how,
I think the neighborhood, MAC advisory council's meeting the day before about that too.
yeah, so if you don't know, there's a private citizen that proposed 2 amendments to our ordinance, one for cottage developments and one for flag lots. We have flag lot standards in our ordinance now, but they don't really allow for the proliferation of flag lots. And this change is, this person's proposing, he's a developer and has done some development in Shiloh. He is proposing to narrow the width of the flag portion of the lot to 5 feet versus what's now it's 20 feet. Yeah, the flagpole, sorry.
To have an unlimited number of flag lots on a lot. Unlimited.
How do you even get to a flag lot if it's 5 feet wide?
It's just a driveway, it's thin
But that's
from
not-
11 to 5 feet.
It's also to allow driveways to be less than 7 feet wide, which is the level, so.
But then they can't meet our standard for driveways.
Cars
Or
are-
there's all these issues with water meters and trash and all the things. So anyways, I think the latest is that the city staff still proposing an alternate.
City staff is not recommending approval because it's citizen-led. this did not go through the normal channel, like if the
There's no
city
public
proposed it,
comment.
we'd have to have
It's
public
not
meetings
Right.
and stakeholder meetings and all of that.
Right.
This guy's just like, I proposed this, why are you taking so long? And I have to say, and I advise planning and zoning, I said, oh, they're not gonna approve this, we haven't had any vetting. They approved it because they said, we have such a housing crisis, it's almost like housing at any cost. And so you really, if you're interested in that and you think about, and
That's
because
terrible
it's a text amendment, it's a general rezoning, so it's not like somebody can see a sign on the property next to them and go, oh, well, this might affect me. It's something that he
Right.
says, I'm just making a few little tweaks, and then our planners have looked at it and said, a few little tweaks that could open up 22,000 acres to development that had not been planned before. So take a look at it's on council on next Tuesday, and the staff reports will be up pretty soon. And the neighborhoods are just now, planners felt like they had to say,
Right.
take a look at this, and you might have.
Is this
missed it.
really what you want?
So,
The
yeah.
staff alternatives are like the compromise one where it's 12 feet minimum as well as I think they said 3, like maximum of 3 flag lots. And
Yeah, they limit the flag lots, they try to mitigate the worst possible impacts, but again, that was just thinking, what if council just wants housing so much, it's like, at any cost, we're just gonna approve this, so they thought they better come up with something that
That's
they
more
live
reasonable.
Yeah, normally what we would do would be, if we were initiated, we would typically ask to do a zoning study, which we haven't been, obviously it's been studied a lot pretty frenetically here the past 2 months, but this,
Right,
as
but
Janice
not
pointed out,
like
not
legit.
normally vet something like this would
Mhm.
take a long time, so anyways, something to have on your radar.
I don't know why you'd want your house behind someone else's house anyways. Like, I've always thought that was weird.
And he had something in there weird about shared driveway easements, and we can't control whether or not you have an
Two
easement
private
with your
citizens
neighbor.
make an easement with their neighbor,
It
yeah.
had a lot, anyways. Anyways, that was a very long answer to how did the.
It was a great planning conference.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn? So moved. Second.